What's going on, everybody? Logan Arliss here, Illinois Aviation Academy. Glad you could join us for another Webinar Wednesday event. As always, I'd like to start off with some announcements from the Academy. First off, some congratulations are due. We've had numerous first solos and private pilots recently. For first solos, we've had Jacob Rubin, Schwab Shamim, Sean Brink, Trevor Zink, and Max Wilkinson. And congratulations to the newly certified private pilots, Ezekiel Collins, John Forsyth, Daniel Disho, Paul Richards, Lauren Kane, and Jeffrey Kincaid. Great job, guys. Keep up the good work. Next up announcement, we have our 18th annual Grassfield Landing Championship you won't want to miss. This will be a month from tomorrow, September 20th. This will be held out at Rochelle Airport again. Breakfast is going to be served and provided by Illinois Aviation Academy, so we will be catering out the flight deck bar and grill. They provide an awesome breakfast: pancakes, French toast, eggs, bacon, sausage, you name it. It'll be there. Trophies are polished up and in the lobby, waiting for someone to claim. Briefly, would like to go over the schedule for the event. So on the 20th, we're going to meet at IAA at 6:30 to 7 o'clock in the morning. We'll be wheels up in between 7 and 7:30 to take the fleet out to Rochelle. Breakfast will be held at 7:30 to 9 o'clock at the flight deck bar and grill at Rochelle. And then we'll proceed with our Grassfield landing competition starting at 8:30. Trophies will be awarded at 11, and we will be back at DuPage by noon. The criteria, each contestant will get 3 laps in the pattern to demonstrate their ability to properly taxi, take off, fly a rectangular traffic pattern, fly a nice approach, and into a soft field landing. Now, the soft field landing will be judged both on softness as well as there's a spot that you'll be trying to hit. And finally, safety. So at the end, we'll tally up all of the scores, and we'll see who wins gold. Moving on, IAA always is striving to deliver excellent customer service and customer satisfaction. We are trying to keep up with demand for you, the customer, keep you in the air, keep you happy. So we're proud to introduce our newest member of the fleet, which is 7669er Golf. It's a Cessna 172 for flight training. Beautiful plane. Still looking for a nickname. So if you guys have some suggestions, throw it in the comments below, and we'll get a nickname on this birdie. But check it out next time you're in the hangar. Finally, we've got our guest for tonight, Miss Linnea Couture. Now, Linnea was a former IAA instructor. She has already spent a lifetime in aviation. So she grew up as a kid involved in aviation at a young age. Since then, she was able to, after graduating college, she moved on to be a flight attendant. She got experience in the world of aviation as a flight attendant. Decided she wanted to become a pilot, became an instructor, instructed for a while, then became a corporate pilot, was hired by SkyWest as an airline pilot, and she's now a captain flying for Fedex in a Grand Caravan. So let's go ahead and bring Linnea onto the call. Again, if you guys have questions for Linnea throughout the interview as we check in with her, please feel free to comment below. Okay. Linnea.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going? I like the sunglasses.
Yeah, thanks. It's pretty bright in here.
It's looks good.
So we are just telling everyone how excited we are to follow your journey as you stand now through aviation. So you were introduced to aviation at a young age. I'd like to start there. So what sparked your interest in aviation at such a young age?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. I'm super excited about this. So basically, when I was little, normally parents would take kids on walks through parks and stuff like that. And my dad decided to take me to O'Hare Airport over the weekends. As you can see in the one picture, we would go and plane watch, and we would stay there all day. We'd walk through the terminal, we'd stand outside, he has a scanner, and we'd listen to the scanner and all the pilots coming in, and it just got me instantly hooked. And I'm pretty sure that's when I got bit by the aviation bug, and I just fell in love with it. I was constantly looking at airplanes, and I said, I'm like, someday this will be happening.
That's awesome. So
Thanks.
is this going to be your Halloween costume here on the right?
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, I'll go around North Dakota with that one.
That's awesome. That looks good.
Thanks.
So after completing high school, you attended Illinois State University. You earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Science. So I got to ask you, why did you decide to go to Illinois State? And then why did you decide to study arts and science?
Okay, so at first I thought that it wouldn't be feasible for me to go and get a degree in aviation. I do have a heart murmur. So because of that, at the time, the FAA didn't really like that too much. It just wasn't something that I was able to go do. So I came up with another plan. I went to Illinois State and I actually changed my major there about maybe 3 or 4 different times. I should have just went in undecided. It would have been a lot easier, but that's okay. You kind of learn as you go. I went in pre-vet and didn't like needles, learned that really quickly. So then I changed my major kind of in the same category, but I studied music therapy. I ended up graduating from ISU with a degree in arts and sciences, knowing that it wasn't what I wanted to do, and aviation was kind of where my heart was set with everything. So I graduated, got done, and then after that, that's when all of the flying and flight attendanting kind of began.
Yeah, so then you made your way back into what you love to do, aviation, and
Yep.
you made your way back as a flight attendant. And so you became a flight attendant with ExpressJet. And so I'd like to ask, what drove you to enter the world in aviation as a flight attendant? What was that experience like? And when did you have that realization that, hey, I'd rather be up at the controls in the cockpit versus back here in the cabin?
So thanks to my parents, they were kind of the ones that pushed me into this direction. I definitely would not be anywhere remotely where I'm at now if they didn't do this. I was kind of at this point where I was bartending, which was fine, making some money on the side. And my parents said, okay, well, you graduated from ISU. You're not doing anything with your degree. Well, what are you going to go do? And I said, well, I don't know. And they ended up saying to me, they're like, well, you love aviation, you love flying, go be a flight attendant, see what it's all about. And I talked to them about wanting to be a pilot, but didn't really, like I said, I didn't really think that I'd be able to go do it. And so they said, okay, well, go do it. So I applied to a ton of different places. I got a lot of different job offers, but I ended up picking ExpressJet. It was probably the best decision, even to this day, that I've ever made. That's truly where everything kind of took off in a way. The very first day of training, I sat there in the classroom and I said, all right, aviation, I'm doing this. I'll do this for a little bit, but you guys are going to see me up front. And I knew the day that I started flight attendant training that I wanted to be a pilot. Everything, it wasn't like college, I struggled. And it was a complete 180. I understood everything. I was getting good scores on my tests. I graduated first in my class. And I was like, oh, so this is what it looks like when you actually enjoy what you're doing versus when you don't like what you're doing. So it was really cool to just see that when you find what you love to do, how you just do well with it.
Absolutely, yeah. And once you made that realization, you definitely hit the ground running. You completed all of your flight training, earning all your certificates, including your CFI, your II, and your MEI in just 7 months, which is a huge achievement.
Yeah,
and many people set out to accelerate their training like the way that you have successfully done, and they're not successful. So how were you able to accomplish so much in such a short period of time? And then what advice would you give those who are looking to accelerate their training and get on that fast track, such as yourself?
Well, a lot of it was me proving myself wrong, because I did struggle quite a bit in college with staying focused, staying on track. And when I found what I really, truly wanted to do, that made it a million times easier. But I told myself, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get in, out, done. And I wasted enough time. And I just was like, all right, this is going to happen right now. And I went in with the mindset. I did bartend a couple nights a week, and that kind of paid for my gas to get out to the airport. But I was at the airport from about 7 a.m. to about 10 p.m. every single day of the week. And then the other nights I was bartending. It was not easy. I would do, some days I did 2 flights a day in ground, and some days I did a sim in a flight, or maybe 2 or 3 sims in a flight. But it was a lot. I got the private probably took me the longest. And then after that, my instrument rating, I think took 4 weeks, if that. And then the commercial MEI and CFI school was really, really fast. We got lucky. We weren't delayed at all. I was actually doing that down in Atlanta. So I was able to avoid all of the Chicago weather for it, which helped a lot, because I did start CFI school around Christmas time. So going down south definitely helped with it, but it was more of the mindset of, okay, this is what I need to do, and this is how I need to do it, and this is what I want to do and get this done. And I had that mindset through the entire part of training, and it definitely was exhausting, but it paid off quite a bit.
Sure did, definitely. So I could imagine it's a lot of hard work, but it definitely paid off for you. Now we have a question came in as a from one of our former IAA instrument students. She's a veterinarian now in Seattle and asks, have you ever considered becoming a bush pilot to work overseas, transporting animals and medicine to remote areas during any time off that you might have?
That would be awesome. I would love to go do that. That's like best of both worlds right there. I just can't be around any needles. So as long as there's no needles involved, I'm good to go. I would love that. I actually someday want to get a kit box and put some big old bush tires on it and flying everywhere. So that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, those kit foxes are cool. The wings fold up. You just throw them on a trailer and take them wherever you need to go. I think you make a pretty good bush pilot myself.
Be fun.
So you complete all your training. You're in Georgia. You're a CFI, so you get hired instructing. You instruct a few hundred hours, and then you make a decision to accept a job that's going to take you out to Texas now, flying with Sierra West Airlines, which is a cargo company. And you jump into a Falcon 20 and a Metroliner. Now, what made your decision to leave instructing? So the common path that we see, future airline pilots take is instruct, get their time, go to the airlines. Why'd you make the decision to move out, start flying cargo? And then being such a young pilot, what was that experience like now jumping into these relatively large aircraft for the first time?
Yeah, so I kind of, looking back at all of this and now kind of hearing all this, I kind of went the super roundabout way with everything, but that's okay. So what made me end up leaving instructing the first time? So quite frankly, I needed a job that did have health insurance with it. Where I was at, I didn't have health insurance. I turned 26. I needed to have something with that. But it was part of that. And then part of the big reason is I wanted to go and try something new. I wanted to see what else this industry had to offer. And I also just wanted to kind of widen my horizons with everything and see, okay, what else can I do with this? What can I do to make myself stand out? What can I do to kind of also just make me want to give cargo a try? Because I didn't know at the time if I wanted to go the passenger route because I was a flight attendant and I loved it, or if I wanted to go the cargo route with no passengers in the back and see if I liked quiet. So that's kind of why I started doing that route. To answer your question about how it was going into the Metro and the Falcon, so I flew the Metroliner first. I went from a Piper Seminole to the Metroliner. It was like riding bull in a china shop. That was really difficult. That plane is a beast. It's a lot of horsepower to change to. It did not have an autopilot. Some of them didn't have a GPS. And we'd fly that thing down to Mexico and up to Canada and just all across the United States. So it was very eye-opening, and my training was actually done all in the plane. So I had about 8 hours of training and then a check ride. And it was about as intense as my flight school was and all my flight training was. So I was kind of used to that pace with it, which really helped. But it definitely was tricky. I would highly recommend if anybody wants to go give it a go, to give it a go and let me know what you think of it.
Absolutely. And now shortly after this, you made a decision to come back to flight instructing, no other than at Illinois Aviation Academy, where we got to enjoy having you for a little over a year as you instructed for us. So you're sitting in the Metroliner on the Falcon 20. So why make that decision to come back to flight instructing now? And then why come to Illinois Aviation Academy?
So I loved what I was doing with SkyWest. It was an awesome opportunity, awesome experience, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. It made, when I went back to instructing, it made me a lot more comfortable in the plane. I was taking students down to minimums on approaches. I was flying them into the clouds and everything in between, which was an awesome experience for my students as well. But the biggest thing with that is I just wasn't getting hours. I was averaging maybe about 20 to 30 hours a month at times. And I wanted to get to the airlines. I was so set. I was kind of annoyed with myself. I wasn't annoyed with any of the decisions that I made, but it was more of, okay, I want to fly, I want to fly, I want to fly. I did this flight school in 7 months. And now I felt like I was just like going turtle speed compared to what I was doing before. So I don't regret any of the decisions that I made, because I think they made me who I am now. But I just needed to kind of get the fire going a little bit and get back to the pace that I was used to. And IAA has been awesome. When I was a flight student, I used to rent with you guys. So that's kind of how I knew about IAA. And then I did have some really good friends of mine that have instructed there. So I figured, I was like, oh, I'll reach out and see what happens. You never know until you ask. And that's how I ended up with you guys.
Well, we were very fortunate to have you as an instructor on our team. And like I said, you worked with us for about a year, and then you had built up your time enough to go to the airlines. And now at the time, airlines were hiring all over. So there was, you could pretty much pick a regional and go. And you picked SkyWest. So why'd you decide to go to SkyWest Airlines? And then if you could briefly tell us in the audience, what was the interview process like with SkyWest?
Sure. So I kind of took a month off of work and I called it my interview month. I probably interviewed at about, 10 different companies, if there are 10. I interviewed a lot. I took more time off interviewing, I think, last December than I did actually working with you guys. But I'm really happy that I did, because kind of a little bit word of advice that I would like to give those that are listening is that everybody has their certain companies that they want to go to. And what I ended up doing is I interviewed with everybody, all the different regionals. I went, and it kind of showed me the inside of what their company's about, what their expectations are, because you think you want to go to one company and then you go and interview and then maybe they're not the right fit for you, which is fine. And you don't really know until you go and do it. So why I picked SkyWest was just because they were a very big company. They had a lot of airplanes, they had a lot of bases, and I wanted to try the West Coast out. I started out in Chicago, then went to Georgia, then went to Texas, and I kind of wanted to keep on inching my way out that way and see how I liked it. And then I figured if I didn't like it, I could always go back home to Chicago. That was kind of my thought process. And doing the interviews, kind of how I said, it really did help. I made an account with Aviation Interviews, and through that, I was able to go through and pick and see every single company and see kind of what they were looking for with their interviews. And I went with my friends and I had them quiz me over every single question, and SkyWest had about 370 of them. So that's how I prepared. I went through every single question. I went through all the approach plates they wanted, and the interview was actually really easy if you went about it and took the time to study for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now we had a question come in. Are there any characteristics that make IAA students better than others?
Let's see. So with that, what I liked about IAA students, because I did instruct at different schools, is that you guys know, okay, this is how I want my program to go. And this is what I can do this week. This is what I can do the following week. If I want to work, go, I can definitely make that happen with you. And then with the students that kind of need to go a little bit on a slower pace, we're able to go with a slower pace on that. So I think the characteristic wise and like kind of personality wise, it was so different with all of the students. And I really liked being able to tailor your training to what you really needed instead of just the constant go, 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 go. I think it was able to really help.
Absolutely. So shortly after you interviewed with SkyWest, you were hired, you were accepted onto their team, and you went to training just prior to this whole pandemic that broke out. Now, at what point did you find out that you were going to be sent home from training, and how did you respond to that?
So we were in, let's see, I got through the ATP CTP. I got through my INDOC training. I got through my ground school training, and we were working on our simulator training. And everybody, even the instructors, we all were like, oh, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Everything will be great. Everything will be awesome. And then one of the days I was actually doing one of my evaluations, and I was talking with the instructor during my evaluation, and he said, yeah, if anything, if they stop taking people, they were interviewing people the day that we were all let go. So nobody knew that this was happening. So I'm not upset about it per se, just because nobody knew. But so what happened is I was in the middle of doing my evaluation, and the director of training came in and said, look, this is what's going on. And unfortunately, we're going to have to send everybody home for now. We all thought maybe it was just because of the social distancing rules that came in, and just the fact that they had all these people and all these new people coming into this hotel, and we didn't know who else was coming into the hotel. And I think that's how everybody took it. And even the company, I think that's kind of how we all thought it was going to be. And we all thought we'd be back within a month or so. And then everything just got worse. And so the company itself has been fantastic. They've offered leaves for us. Some people still have their flight benefits. Some people are on paid leaves. So I'm not upset with SkyWest by any means. It just is a really unfortunate situation with how everything happened. But how I kind of handled it, I was upset. I was not happy about it, but you can't really, with aviation, you'd never really know what's going to happen or how things are going to go. And you just kind of have to roll with it and kind of go with the flow. So that day that I got furloughed, I guess, we ended up going, and I applied to about 200 positions on Climb to 350. And a week later, Corporate Air called me.
Yeah, so I
was quick.
could imagine how difficult it was to find a job, right after the whole initial shock of this pandemic. And it sounds like, 200 applications, that's a lot of applications to send out.
Yeah.
But thankfully, luckily, you found a position at Corporate Air, like you mentioned, which is a Fedex feeder. So you're flying the Grand Caravan as a captain, single pilot now, which is new to you.
Very.
And you're based out of North Dakota. So first off, I just want to how do you like North Dakota?
I love it. It's been an absolute blast. I'm doing stuff in North Dakota that I never in a million years would have done in Chicago. I caught a catfish. I've been out on razors. I've been just doing a whole bunch of different things. So it's been an absolute blast up here. It's a whole different kind of culture, different feel, kind of out in the countryside of it, I guess. Coming from Chicago, yes. But yeah, it's a blast up here.
Definitely. So what was the training like when Corporate Air hired you? So how much training did you do in the Grand Caravan, and what did that process look like?
Yeah, so Corporate Air's training was fantastic. I went in very, very nervous because I only had 15 hours of solo time, and I was going to be flying this caravan with 15 hours of solo time by myself. So I was nervous Nelly going into this. But so my training took about 2 months. The first week of it was up in Billings, Montana, and it was all of INDOC. It was just kind of like a regular INDOC for a company. You learn about their op specs, their procedures, kind of how the company works. And that lasted about a week. And then there were just a couple different kinds of tests that you had to take during the week, and then a final exam after it. And then that's kind of all that the INDOC portion covers. And then after that, they flew me out to North Dakota, and I got to do some ride-alongs, which was really nice, especially since I didn't really know what to expect with it. I knew it'd be a slower plane than what I was used to flying, but by myself, I was a little nervous about it. But I went on these ride-alongs with them, and I got to kind of see how the plane worked and how the operations were. And then after that, I went down to Wichita for flight safety. And then that was about 10 days where I did more systems training, and then also went and did some of my flight training there. And then after that, the training is awesome. After that, then I went to back up to North Dakota. I had more ground school on systems, and then I had actual training in the airplane. We went out, we did maneuvers, stalls, approaches, and I had about 5 days of that, and then was my check ride.
Awesome. So what does your schedule look like now? So how much are you flying? What routes do you fly?
So right now I am what they like to consider as a standby pilot. I kind of fly whatever routes they need me to fly on, which I really like that because I'm not going to the same airport every single day. I like the adventure of it. And so I work Tuesday through Saturdays. I'm home every night by 8 o'clock at the latest, which is really nice. And then Sunday, Monday, they don't touch me and they will not call me unless they really do need me, which that'll work. So I get to so about 5 a.m. I set my first alarm and we track the Memphis plane. So the big jet, there's an Airbus that flies in from Memphis to North Dakota, and I track them. And if they're on time, then I get up. And if they're not on time, I go back to bed until the plane is getting pretty close to showing up. And so then I'll get to the airport about 45 minutes to an hour before the big jet gets there, and I go out pre-flight. We have loaders that load all of our cargo for us. And then we do a little bit of pre-flight planning just to make sure the weather's good. It's been a little crazy lately. That the weather's good, the winds are good, we have enough fuel on board, all of that good stuff. And then we have two different types of routes. We'll either have the people that go out to the outstations and stay there all day and then fly back in the evening for the jet to bring the stuff back to Memphis. Or we have the people that just kind of bring whatever's left over that won't fit the first plane, but will fit the second plane. And then they just go out and then back. But it's very, very relaxed. It's an awesome, awesome job. And I'm super lucky. We fly to a couple different places. In Minnesota, we go to Thief River and Bemidji. And then in North Dakota, we go to Bismarck, Dickinson, Williston, and there's another one that I can't think of what it is. Might not.
Nice. It sounds like you're really enjoying it then.
Yeah, it's a great job.
So fun question for you. So what has been your favorite aircraft to fly to date and why?
All right, so people would probably think the big shiny Falcon jet was. It was a fun plane. It was fast, and the landings were always nice and squishy, which made my confidence pretty good, even when they were really bad ones. But I really did enjoy flying the Metroliner. It made me a really good instrument pilot, especially since there was no autopilot, and then got some good muscles from that too. That yoke is 60 pounds of force itself, so it brought out the best and sometimes the worst in you, but learned a lot, and it was a rodeo every time you flew it.
Awesome. Now, what advice would you give to a young aviator looking to be successful in the world of aviation?
So my biggest advice is, especially now, don't give up. If you have this end goal, just keep on going, keep on pushing. It's once you get to that point, it's the most rewarding career you'll ever have. You need to have that drive, that motivation. And even when the days are rough, I've had plenty of those days. Just keep on saying, okay, would I rather be sitting in an office staring at a computer instead of sitting in an airplane staring at a computer, but you have all those views outside. So it's all in your perspective. If you have the motivation to do it and get it done, you will definitely do it.
Great bit of advice there. Now,
Thanks.
What are the future plans for Ms. Couture?
All right, so future plans. I still have the major airlines definitely in my eye, but kind of what I'm thinking right now is I have the ATP written completed. I need to go do the check ride for it. So I think probably about this time next year, I'm gonna go and get that check ride finished, save up some money and go do that. And I'm really hopeful that I can get on with mainline Fedex. I wanna fly the wide bodies. I wanna get on those things. The 777 is definitely what I'd like to be on eventually, but we'll see. Everything's been kind of so up in the air with, especially with Corona and all that. But I'm really confident that if I keep on kind of going along how I'm going, that hopefully things will work out, and we'll see.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'm sure you're going to be successful in whatever you put your mind to. And
Thanks.
your story is truly an inspiration, and it shows really how we had a previous guest on, Frank Caros, and he's a first officer at Southwest, and he mentioned that, hey, your career in aviation will not go as planned, and
No.
and that's okay, right? And so you've truly shown that, if you truly love what you do and you're hardworking and resilient, you'll overcome any adversity and find a way to be successful in aviation. And so thank you for sharing your journey with us tonight. And it was an honor to have you on.
Thank you. It was.
And I know
Blast.
you're out in North Dakota, but if you're ever around Chicago, we better see your face here at the Academy again.
Well, you know you will. I'll come
All right,
in.
thanks a lot, Linnea.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.
All right, guys, that is it for tonight. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.